Well, happy Tuesday. Hope everybody's doing well. It's a beautiful day here in New England. I hope it was nice wherever you're watching from. We got some interesting news this week. Of course, every week to week is always a little, there's always some kind of drama in the world of real estate. We talk about all things housing market in this channel, on this live stream. And, every week you think you're like, I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. It's rinse and repeat. Nope. so we are going to dig into a well-known economist released a statement this week that is causing quite a stir in the housing industry and putting people on notice. And we're going to dig into it and get to the bottom of it. And you can decide whether it's time to panic or not. It'll be interesting, but we're gonna dig into all of those details. I've got a couple housekeeping items, as I usually do. We got a poll. Make sure you just have a little fun. Check off your answer on this week's poll. What is this week's poll? Let's see. We've got this week's poll of mortgage rates dropped to 5%. Do you think that the housing market would improve? That has been like the most talked about statement. I have my doubts. I have my doubts. I think there's a lot more going on than just a interest rate adjustment to get this market back on track. We shall see. But I'm interested to hear what you guys think. The second thing is I want to hear your wins. I want to hear, there's so much bad news these days. I mean, honest to goodness, there's, if there's no bad news, there's no news. It's like, at least during COVID, people were like going out of their way to share good news. Just as a side note, but I want to hear your good news. Do you have any successes this week? Tell me what's going on. Did you pack, a couple boxes? You're decluttering your house. You got your house under contract, got it on the market. You found a rental, whatever it is, whatever success, share it with us because we all want to celebrate, support you and all the things. And you know what? It's just good. It's good karma, to share your wins and share it with everyone else. It also gives everyone else hope that there is good stuff going on. And then finally, if you have a question, I always run these live streams solo. I don't have a producer. So if you have a question, you can put QQQ before that question, kind of brings it to my attention in the chat. And I'll make sure not to miss it. But if you're watching this, on the replay, just drop the question in the comments. I do look at the comments for the first 3-4 days. I try to keep, I try to keep up with the comments. I'm I'm a busy real estate agent, a busy YouTuber, all the things, and do my best, but I don't always see all the questions. But if you do have a burning question, you can always fill out the Ask Jenna question form. I'll get back to you. It may take me a little bit, but I will get back to you. So we got, let's see what we got in the house today. We got Mr. David Matney, my good friend David in Omaha, Nebraska. How you doing there? My friend, we got Chick You. I hope I'm saying that correctly. You're here every week. So good to see you. So good to see you. We got a win. My home was on the market for 4 days. I received several offers, one being 10,000 over asking. Holy cow, holy cow, holy cow. You know what? Bravo. Good for you. Good for you. So good to hear that. Says my agent had one open house this past Saturday and the offers came in. So you know what? You do the work. You got to put the work in before the house goes on the market. It does pay off. We got Nerd Bombshell. I love your handle. Watching from South Carolina. Chickie's looking for a home in Rhode Island, my neighbor to the south, here in Massachusetts, Plymouth, Massachusetts. We got Cynthia Hedberg says, what specific advice can you give an older homeowner wanting to sell their 150-year-old home? Ooh, that's a question I can't get into in depth right this very moment. That's a lot. That's a big answer. There's a lot of things. You know what? We'll put that one aside and remind me. We'll come back to it for sure, because there's some definite intricacies of being in Plymouth, being in one of the oldest towns in the country. I've had my fair share of selling old homes, so yeah, there's some intricacies for navigating that. We've got FPC in the House, Eastern Oregon, being represented. And a nerd bombshell says I haven't had my house into I haven't did my house into a container. I have a new roof, new windows, new siding. I'm currently painting. I have a contract on a house I'm supposed to close August 7th. We'll keep our fingers crossed for you, 100%. We got Dave and Tess in the house coming in from San Juan Island in Washington State. Good to see you guys, 100%. And we got Danielle says we have our first realtor interview last week, and she answered all the questions we stole from your channel. Learned, not stole, learned. That makes me so happy. Stole from your channel beautifully. Interview number 2 arrives 45 minutes, 3 on Thursday. Love it, love it, love it. I love it. You guys are doing your due diligence. Got to do your homework, do your homework. And Tracy says, house on the market since May, had 4 showings last week and 2 offers. This is such great news. You know what? This is the kind of stuff that, you know what, all the naysayers out there that nothing's happening, all the things that, nothing's selling, nobody's making offers, nobody's buying. It's just not true. It's hard. It's really hard right now, and you got to be super, super, super strategic, but not impossible. Not impossible. So we're going to get into it, but before we dive into the content that I want to share with you guys, dig into, dissect with you guys, as always, got some breaking news coming hot off the press. So this article just popped up today, about a couple hours ago, and this Stow woman loses over $1,000 in real estate scam. This is something that is this is not a new scam, but man, you know what? It just keeps coming and coming and coming, and I just wanted to do it as a I guess a PSA. Because you know what, when things get tough, when the economy gets tough, that's when this kind of stuff happens. She said she made multiple payments adding up to $1,100 over a mobile banking app named Chime. This is coming out of Stow, Ohio. It says one woman in Stow got much less than she bargained for when she was trying to buy a home on Friday. Taylor Green had been in contact with a man claiming to be James Duran in regards to a house listing on eBay. Red flag number 1. The property was listed as available for rent, rent to buy, or for sale. Green had never met Duran in person, only communicating over the phone or via text. Initially, Green was told that in order to secure the property, she would have to cover the fees to the property's homeowners association. She made multiple payments, adding up to $1,100 over her mobile banking app named Chime. Once she paid Duran, told her, you can see this unraveling, right? Like, seriously, you can see this unraveling right from, it's clear as day. Once she paid, Duran told her to come to visit the house, the property, which he remotely unlocked in real time as Green arrived. But after she toured the property and left, Duran cut all communication with her and stopped responding to messages. Green investigated on her own and discovered the property was actually owned by a company named Open Door Trust Real Estate. Upon reaching out, they confirmed they have no knowledge or dealings with any man named James Duran or any involvement with the sale of the property. The incident is currently under investigation. So, number 1, this whole story, they made a comment, they made a point of mentioning this mobile banking app named Chime. Has absolutely nothing to do. You could have paid them by PayPal. You could have sent them Apple Cash. It doesn't matter how they got paid. That's not the scam. The scam is they were looking for money up front. This market is tough, and it has been tough, especially for properties that are rent to own, any of those types of properties. And if you have a situation, and I've seen it time and time again, where people are can be desperate, or they can be naive. And if the person sounds trustworthy, they don't do their due diligence, they don't do their homework, and that's how this stuff happens. So, I mean, first off, when you are in this situation, number one, always, 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 because, listing it on eBay, it doesn't automatically mean red flag, but it does mean you got to do your due diligence. You got to find out who the owner is before you even pick up the phone. It is not impossible. It is not impossible. You can find out the owner of a property. You can go to town hall. If it's not available online, you can go in person down town hall. You can go to the registry of deeds and find out who owns this property. Is it James Duran? To be honest, if she had done some research and actually just went on Google and started searching around that way, she probably would have found out that it's not this James Duran guy. Why he had her go to the property is completely, I'm just baffled, because there's no reason other than to maybe mess with her. I don't know. But because the fact of the matter is like, the second thing, never, if an agent, a home seller, never ever enter a property by yourself. You're putting yourself into potentially dangerous situation. Number one. But number two, it screams red flag. Now, $1,100 is a lot of money to some people. That is a ton of money, and that could have been all her savings. So we don't want to undervalue the fact that it's 1,100 and not $11,000. However, she needs to be this type of situation should never have happened. It should have been, and it could have been easily avoided. So. This is my PSA, because, like I said, I think this kind of stuff happened when Craigslist came on the scene. I'm sure you guys remember Craigslist. I mean, Craigslist is still around, but there was a lot of rental scams when Craigslist, on Craigslist, this exact scenario. And now things are just getting more sophisticated and all the things. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, because you know what? You got to be careful. You got to be careful, because people will take advantage if you don't, if you're not. So let's see here. Just take a look on the chat. Adam, thanks for joining us. Says, I think 5% is gonna help with the interest rate is gonna help, but the prices I feel are still too high for most people. Here in Utah, everyone thinks it's 2021 still. It'd be neat to talk with one of your 20% acquaintances. Oh, and it must be another part of it, because it looks like it got cut off. But yeah, Adam, if you want to, I can definitely put you into in contact. There's a request a referral, an agent referral link in the description. And depending on who I have in that area, if I have to research and interview, which I do, it takes a little bit longer for me to get you back to the right person, but I will not do that. So yeah, I think it's going to take time, but I think a lot of home sellers are going to have a rude awakening, the ones that are confused and don't know what year it is. Let's see here. Garden. I don't know how to say your handle. Gardenindon. Thanks for being here. She asks, how to sell my house for top dollar when there are filthy, loud neighbors next door. Any suggestions? Oh, that's a tough one. That is a tough question to answer. You know what? A lot of that's out of your hands. I mean, it's almost like, what do you do, period, regardless of whether you're selling the house. Because it really has nothing to do with you selling the house. It has the fact that you have loud neighbors. I mean, I would, to be honest, I try to work with the town and your town officials, to see if there's, an ordinance that they're violating, so on and so forth. I'm sure you've probably already done this. That becomes really tough, really tough. I guess the only advice I would give you is that, you know what, if you've got a buyer that is coming from the city, doesn't care about the noise, There's a butt for every seat, as my grandmother would say. There's every house has a homeowner, every house has a buyer. It's just going to be more difficult to find them. Might take a little longer, but I would say, even the ones that are on busy streets, even the ones that have no lots, even the ones that are in disrepair, every house is saleable. But getting top dollar for it, it will be, um, that's gonna be tough for sure, for sure. Yeah, Tracy says eBay red flag, for sure. Clark in the house, and how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. And we get Angie here. Oh, the regulars. Um, Garden and Eden. Garden and Eden. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Um, all right. Very good. The clickbait title. Are you referring to the clickbait? Are you talking about my title or a different title? Because not sure what you're referring to. But we're gonna get into um, the topic at hand. So there's a lot there. This Mark Zandi, who is the chief economist over at he's the top economist over at Moody Analytics, and he released a statement last week that is, essentially his opinion that the housing market is on a downward trajectory, and from a national economy perspective, people need to take notice. So this article, there's many articles. I feel like this article probably did the best job for the purposes of our discussion, kind of getting into it, and getting into the details. But housing market red flare. Moody's chief economist sees home price declines spreading. So just weeks ago, and this article Saturday. Just weeks ago, Moody's chief economist Mark Zandi was signaling cautious optimism. Mid-May conversation with Gunnar Branson. Zandi said that the economy appeared resilient and that the additional housing market softening this spring looked more like yellow flares than anything more serious. That caution has since escalated. Zandi is now issuing a red flare. On July 13th, Zandi warned that home sales, home building, and even home prices are set to slump unless mortgage rates fall materially from their current 7% range, something he believes is unlikely. He says the housing downturn to date has been mostly about the depressed existing home sales, which is true. New home sales, housing completions, and the housing prices have held up well, but that is about to change. This could be not great news for home sellers. This could be great news for home buyers, and for sure might be, and we're going to talk about that, might be the thing that motivates you to do something sooner than later. I always talk about never timing the market. I always talk about looking at your own personal situation. I'm going to tell you now that if you're in a situation where you want to move sometime in the next year, and I know I get referral requests and I ask on the referral form, what's your timeline? And a lot of folks say 9 to 12 months or 12 months plus. And I totally get that. And if you're saying that because you're like, oh, I'm just not sure, or maybe, it doesn't make a difference, there's no significant push to do it, there's no urgency to do it. This might be the urgency. Maybe. Depending on what your situation is, this might be the urgency, because this could signal a significant and gradual home slide of home prices, which means for a lot of folks a decrease in your net proceeds. So this graph was very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to explain this to you guys. So this is the U.S. existing home sales are hovering near historic lows when adjusted for population levels. The reason why I feel like this is a super interesting graph is because they adjusted the relationship between the number of homes in relation to the population. So we've had a population growth, like the growth, the population of this country has steadily grown over the last 30, 40, 50 years, right? 100 years. It continually grows. And so it stands to reason that a percentage of 4 million homes, if the 4 million homes was a healthy number of homes to get into a balanced market 10 years ago, that's not a relative number now because we have more people that need those homes. So this is the relationship percentage. And actually, this is, for example, in January 2025, seasonally adjusted annualized rate 4.08 million existing home sales divided by the number of U.S. households, 132.2 million, resulted in 3.3%. While not perfect apples to apples comparison, this metric serves as a useful proxy for adjusting for changes in the country's size. So they're looking at the relationship between the number of homes and the number of people. And that is what this graph illustrates. And you can see that, back in, it was right around, mid, 1982, 1983, where it was at, the number of homes that were on the market were at historical low levels. And this is where we're at now. And I know I hear it from you guys all the time here on the live stream. Oh, there's so many homes on the market. There's so many homes, coming on the market, and everyone is talking about, I hear the pushback, and I understand why. When we talk about the lack of inventory, there's not enough homes, and yet you're in a neighborhood with 10 for sale signs. And you say, how the heck could that be? Or you're in a town with for sale signs, or you're in an area in Florida where there's for sale signs all over the place. You say, this is a bunch of, it's all bogus. It's not, you know what you're talking about. That's one area. Nationally, this is why the prices are holding. This is why the prices are holding. And I suspect this is going to be, if we're on the trajectory that we're on now, with the way things are going, as if the interest rates do not come down, which they're not expected to. I have some extra predictions I'm going to share with you on that. But if we don't have anything to have negative pressure, there will be some price depreciation. There will be some downward pressure on prices. If no one's buying homes and a seller really needs to move, then your only option, besides taking it off the market, is to lower your price. It's just the name of the game. There is nothing you can do, no improvement, anything. If the house is not selling, at the end of the day, it comes down to the price. The price has to match where the value is to the buyer on what is being represented with that house. And that will mean more inventory. But if you have more inventory but nobody buying, it doesn't necessarily, it's not gonna do a lot of good, but it will put some downward pressure on prices. The article goes on to say that existing home sales have been stuck at historical levels since the pandemic housing boom ended in mid-2022. Between early 2020 and 2022, soaring housing prices, then soaring mortgage rate hikes rapidly deteriorated the U.S. housing affordability. And since then, the housing sector has been in a slump with continued job losses and slashed commissions for mortgage brokers. This statement, I don't understand why they put this in here. Slashed commissions for mortgage brokers and agents as transaction volumes have receded. I don't know if that's a dig on the fact that real estate agents are they're struggling to pay their food bill as well. I don't know how that's relevant to anything. I think job losses, period, because as much as all the politicians, every politician, it doesn't matter which aisle you're on, every politician, likes to say that, oh, the job economy's good and jobs and all the things. No, yes, you can go get a job if you want to make half the amount of money. It's tough. It's tough out there. It says, but now the housing market could be headed for even more weakness. One of the clearest tells, according to Zandy, is that builders are now postponing land deliveries and a move that typically precedes a drop in construction activity and could mean fewer starts and completions in the quarters ahead. Very interesting. And I actually have an article that I'm going to some data, information on what's going on in the builder sentiment, because the builders literally a month ago to several weeks ago, the builder sentiment was positive, and that is absolutely not the case overall right now. It is not looking good. All right, so let's see what's going on here in the chat. See what you guys have. Um, let's see. Cindy Wonder. I want to buy land and build, but can't afford the 30% down that most land construction loans require. How can I buy to build? I would recommend that you shop around to multiple lenders. There are lenders out there that you might end up, you may, sorry, my brain is going too fast for my mouth. Um, check with a local lender. Sometimes local lenders will give you better deals. They'll have like these, call them portfolio loans, so like in-house loans that, with private investors, it's not as scary as it might seem. It's just, they have this ability to have access to money that essentially they can create the terms, and they may be willing, depending on the investor, they may be willing to, you know, accept a lower down payment if you have a really good credit history and good FICO score and so on and so forth. And typically local lenders are the only ones that you're gonna find the most success with that. So I would check with your local lenders, but shop around, because depending on, I don't know how many you've talked to, but uh, I wouldn't stop at just one. I wouldn't stop at two. I would keep doing your research. If you want it bad enough, keep digging, keep digging, keep digging. Because the fact of the matter is that the flip side to all this challenging news from a home seller standpoint, on the buying side, if homes are not selling, people are not buying, that means builders are going to be more than happy to try to do a construction loan. They'll be, try to work within your means. Banks don't make money if they don't do loans. Mortgage bank, if they're not lending money, they're not making money. And that's, I foresee that starting. It's already started to change. It's already starting to change with first-time homebuyer programs, lower down payment programs, things of that nature. It's already starting to switch. I had a client that got an offer accepted about a week and a half ago, and he is putting down a good sized down payment, but and he qualified for conventional. He went and got an FHA loan because it was an entire percentage lower, 1% lower. And he has good credit. And so that's the type of stuff that's going to be happening. Um, let's see. Wiggly arm guy. Love it. This housing market is very scary here in Arizona. Yes, Arizona is, yeah, I understand that completely. My house is going on the market early September, and I'm having my doubts now. You know what? Here's the thing. If you are moving, lean into the reason why you need to move. Number one. Number two, you need to fully understand and make sure you're working with an agent that has you updated, that has you in touch with what's happening with the market. You really, really need to know what's happening in the market in your town, the market in your neighborhood, and you need to watch that on a regular basis. And your agent should be watching that on a regular basis. I met with a client today that did the photography and whatnot. We're going to put our house on the market next week. And this morning, before I headed over there, that's exactly what I did. Pulled the comps, just took a look, just to make sure, that we're not missing a red flag, or we need to make any type of adjustments. Thankfully, we didn't, but that's going to be the key. But you know what? There are people buying. People are even down in Arizona. It's just you've gotta be what did somebody talk to me said the other day? You gotta be the pretty blonde in the room. Take what you gotta be the best looking one in the room. I don't know, whatever analogy you want to look at, but you've got to give people a reason to buy your house. It's just but if there's a strong motivation to do so, you will get that house sold. So lean into the reason why you're doing it in the first place, for sure. Um, Yeah, and she says it depends on your equity. If you sell a little lower, the next house will be lower too. Depends on where you're moving. Depends on where you're moving. If you're moving from south to north, northeast, May not be the case. If you're moving from Northeast to the southern regions or the western part of the country, you could definitely make out for sure. Um, let's see. I may have to drop my price drastically just to get it sold. I have plenty of equity. I keep praying that they move soon, but it's almost been 5 years and enough is enough. HOAs know how I am so sorry. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Yeah, you know what? It's sometimes sometimes you have to look at the fact that, when you're selling a house, it's not just dollars and cents. It's not just dollars and cents. And yes, it may sting your pocketbook to say, finally, you know what? I just need to get out of here. For my mental health, for my sanity, for my quality of life. How can you put a price tag on quality of life? How? You can't. You can't. Because the fact of the matter is that yes, it's going to sting. But that money it's a temporary issue. It's a temporary situation. Yes, you may have to, if you're taking that money to buy another property, you may have to buy something a little smaller. You may have to buy something maybe in not the ideal, neighborhood you want, or you may end up having to take a little bit bigger mortgage, which was not what you planned. However, your quality of life will be better. Your quality of life will be better. And that's why I always say you've got to know why you're doing it, and you got to lean into why you're doing it, because that is what is going to carry you through these tough decisions. So I think we get caught up in the business end of the transaction. The business end of it, of selling your home is, that's why I'm in business. That's my burden to bear, to take care of the business end. Selling a home, buying a home, home buyers, home sellers, it is natural to be emotional, having emotions attached to it. It's just, I mean, unless you're like, dead inside, or you're an investor. If you're an investor, then that's a different story. But I feel I feel what you're wrestling with there, and but you got, again, think about why you're doing it in the first place. Um, Kelly says it's very hard to leave a 3% for a loan for a 7% loan. Kind of ties into exactly what I was just saying. 110%. It's all in why you're doing it. If you're doing it just because you want more space, you want to be away from your kids or your husband or whatever, not. Maybe that's a quality of life improvement. I don't know. But it's all you've got to put everything in its place. You can't, yes, it would be great if you could have your cake and eat it too. Uh Absolutely. Like, who wouldn't want to? But what's more important? The money, the saving the money, or the quality of life that you'll have when you make the move? And that is not that's not the same answer for everybody. Some people, it's like, you know what, the strain on my budget will make my quality of life worse and more stressful. Then don't do it. Then you say, you know what, I'm going to deal with the smaller place or deal with this location or whatever, because I can't, the alternative is not a good answer for me. And that's the soul searching. I think that ultimately is going to be happening a lot over the next probably a couple of years, easily. I just want to jump back to this article real quick here, and because they talk about, the price declines, and this is something that, I talk a lot about, and has been happening. This is not new news, where the declines are happening, but it says more home price declines are likely, especially in the South and West. Zandy told Resi Club that he expects the national home prices to fall by a mid-single digit percentage. So he didn't chime in with an exact percentage. It says from peak to trough, over the next 18 to 24 months. This is not a crash, guys. This is a decline. This is a softening. This is a downturn in the market. A crash would be literally, because I've worked through it. Been in this business almost 30 years. And when the crash hit our area up here in the Northeast, it was right around 2006, late 2006, and it was 6 months. Boom, 30% drop in values overnight. It was crazy fast. That's a crash. We don't want that. Everybody suffers. All the small business owners, all, you talk about job losses. If this market crashes, there is going to be tremendous job loss across the country. The US economy will be in big trouble. You think things are tough now? It's going to get 10 times worse. We don't want to crash. Softening, 100%. 100%. Not great, but definitely better to go, slow and steady, slow and steady, slow and steady. And he says that this expectation is assuming that the mortgage rates remain at near 7%. We don't know that this is going to happen. We don't know. This is, and I've got some predictions about that. I'm going to show you in a minute. It says, but not every region will be impacted equally. Prices will be weakest in the South and the West, where affordability is lowest, and there has been more construction. That is one of the reasons why. That's, a big shift. And this graph, they have this graph a lot, and this is, shows you, the dark browns, that's where the housing inventory is the lowest, and then the green, teal, whatever color you want to call that, is where the inventory is soared. And that is, you can see how it's speckled. This is why you need to know your housing data. You need to know if you're putting your house on the market. If you're looking to buy a house, you need to find out how many days to offer, how many days to sold in that area, preferably in the neighborhood, but at least in the town. What is the market? Because you'll see down here, in Louisiana, how different it is. You've got pockets that, the inventory soared, and then you've got pockets that where it's not, so it's a little bit deficient. So it's not clear cut. If you live in this state or you live in this area, everything's going to be the same. You've got to do that homework, find out what the situation is for your local market so that you can, address it accordingly. If you're trying to make an offer as a buyer on, one of these states and the inventory is deficient, and you go in, the house has been on the market for a week, and you make a way below asking offer, it's probably not going to go. Your expectations are not realistic. It likely isn't going to go anywhere. And especially if the average time to offer is 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and you go in 2 days and make an offer significantly below asking, don't get your hopes up. Don't look at properties you can't afford in expectation of getting a lower offer accepted, because that's the only way you can get you can afford the house. You're going to be disappointed. And the flip side, when you're selling the house, you want to make sure you know that data so you're not freaking out if the house doesn't go under contract after 7 days. Super, super important. Expectations, managing expectations is going to be the name of the game in surviving this mess. Because it is a mess. There is no doubt about it. 100%. It is, it's a messy situation out there. I'm just going to see what's going on in the chat. Let's see. EK. Thanks. I listed my home 2 weekends ago and got an offer within 2 days. Fantastic. Yeehaw. Good for you. Fantastic. Congratulations. That is awesome. Seeing price cuts across the chassis, MX. Seeing price cuts across the board here in South Dakota County, or San Diego. It says San Diego? South Dakota. Must be San Diego. Maybe. You can let me know. David Tess has been looking in Arizona, just can't justify people marking up properties. 100% owned for 5 years, 25 to 50% maybe. Price adjustment needs to happen for me to buy. So how long someone has owned a house, how much mortgage they have, and what kind of appreciation that they have on that property, I'm sorry to say, is irrelevant. I'm sorry to say it is irrelevant. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but it doesn't make a difference. The area value is the area value. If you happen to get a good deal because, when you bought the house, because the house maybe needed a lot of work, or you got your foot in the door on an area that was up and coming, and then for whatever reason the area exploded, and you just happen to ride the wave, that is not the homeowner's fault. That it just is. It just is. I understand because I've absolutely worked with buyers, coached buyers that have your same sentiment. And when a buyer asks me, how much does the seller owe? I respond, number one, I don't know because I have no way of knowing. I can go into the registry and see what kind of note they had when they bought it. But if they bought it 10 years ago, who knows how much they owe? Number one. Number two, it's irrelevant. It is irrelevant. Why? Because the buyers in the area, the values in the area are going to dictate what that house is worth, not what they owe on the property, not how much appreciation. It sounds like you're looking at an area that probably was an up and coming area. That maybe if sit back and if you can sit back and bide your time, the prices are going to soften, likely soften. That is where you really need to be working with an agent. Oh, excuse me. That came out of left field. Mm, sorry. Where was I? Oh, it's super important you work with a buyer's agent that knows the market inside and out, that can explain to you exactly where the market was, where it is now, and where it is likely heading based on, what's happening in the neighborhood. Is there anything being built? Is the neighborhood have a lot of new construction? Is it, all the different reasons. So I feel your pain though. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. TM says large down payments are the way to go. No money again, don't play that. Yeah, if you can. It is extremely hard, especially, and I know I've kind of, gone on tangents on this before in the past about the fact that, we're this time in history, at this point in history, Americans are at the lowest savings rate ever. Like people don't save money, partly because it's super hard to save because the cost of living has gone through the roof and it's hard to put money aside. If you have the ability to save and cut expenses, fantastic. I think the only way you do a large down payment though is if you already own the home and you sell, you cash out, and you strategically find and buy a property that is a little bit less than what your expectations are. You put something that's buy something that's more conservative, that you can use that money and the down payment will be more impactful for a lower sale price. I think that's the only way you get out of that alive. All right, I'm gonna just be mindful of the time tonight. I want to make sure I get to all this stuff here. I wanted to talk about real quick. Oh, this is the article that I pulled up. This came out a couple Thursday, July 17th, and it was realtor.com. Builders are pessimistic about the housing market, throwing out outrageous incentives to real end buyers. This was interesting. And if you guys are in the southern states and you are looking to buy a home, and maybe, I'm sure Dave and Tess, you probably looked into this. This is builder sentiment rose 1 point in July, boosted by the passage of the President Trump's BBB, beautiful bill act, which is now a law. But it remains low overall due to concerns about high interest rates and economic and policy uncertainty. That could keep the pace of home sales sluggish. National Home Builders Monthly Confidence Index rose. The industry group said on Thursday. A year ago, it stood at 41. It says some markets where builders have been active, such as Florida, they have been throwing out sales incentives that are so outrageous, it's like giving homes away. Could be an opportunity for home buyers. Big picture home prices and 7% mortgage rates are weighing on the housing market. Home sales remain anemic, yada yada. And you guys already know this. I won't hash through that because you already know about that stuff here. We don't need to repeat that over and over. It says cutting home prices haven't stimulated sales much. And this is the thing. This is the conundrum that builders are facing right now. Is just by cutting the prices, it's not getting home buyers off the sofa to make an offer. So it says many sellers have the option to delist the home. So if you're not a builder, you can take the house on the market off the market. But builders can't do that. Builders can't do that. They've got money, investors and such tied up in these properties. This is one of the things that this is what got builders into trouble when the market crashed in 06, 07, is because they did a lot of spec building. They built homes before there were buyers. And then when the market changed significantly, they were stuck holding the note for all these homes that they couldn't sell, as opposed to when builders started getting back in, and they literally won't even break ground up here anyways. They won't even break ground until, unless they've got a contract, they've got a buyer on the hook. It says many sellers have the option to delist their home and wait out the market, but most builders need to clear their inventory. So they're ramping up the deals. This is down in Jacksonville, Florida, and much across the state. Many builders were decreasing prices to bring buyers in, on top of offering incentives such as assistance with closing costs. It says we know from our fieldwork in the market, builders are offering advertising, interest rate buy downs, closing cost assistance, credits toward option spend and other incentives, along with outright price cuts in order to make sales. I'm going to take a sidebar here and just tell you that if you are looking at this new construction, if this could be potentially a huge opportunity for a home buyer to get into a new home that costs far less than an existing home. But please, 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 two things. Number one, you've got to have good buyer representation. Not just any buyer representation. You don't need a buyer agent that just collects the money. That's useless. Forget about it. What you need is a buyer rep that is skilled in new construction, that knows the local area builders, that knows about housing construction, and can give you advice so that you don't end up signing with a builder that has a bad rap, a builder that has a history of turning out garbage. And then you end up thinking you save money, and at the end of the day, you get the keys, and then a month later, you start having massive problems because you bought a piece of garbage and you had no idea. One of the ways, number one, is to have somebody representing you that can help you try to avoid that. And number two, you got to do your own research. Even if you got a great buyer's agent, you've got to do your own research. You've got to research that builder. You've got to, if it were me, I would, if I was down in Florida, down in any of those, Arizona, Texas, I was down there representing a buyer buying new construction. And we were looking at, a particular builder. I would cruise the neighborhood. Honestly, probably Saturday afternoon. Go on a Saturday afternoon when people are home. Sunday when people are home. Catch people, going out to their car, whatever. Excuse me, can I ask you a question? How do you like your house? And if they give you the, the sign, the one finger sign, keep driving. But most people will if you say to them, I'm just thinking about buying, and curious, like how you like it here, people are going to tell you. They're going to tell you. Got to do that field work. Yes, it's a pain. Yeah, but you know what? You got to put the time in. If you put the time in, not all builders are bad. Not all builders are making garbage. You got to make sure that you got to find those, and you got to make sure you protect yourself. So I just wanted to make that little PSA, I guess, to make sure that that you guys are protected. And it just says that, went on to say in July, 30% of builders cut home prices, which was the highest share since the National Association of Home Builders began tracking this figure in 2022. The average price reduction was 5% in July, unchanged from the previous month. So it will be interesting to see how the builder incentives how that all plays out. Um, there'll be many more live streams about that, I'm sure, especially with the tariff deadline of August 1st. And a lot of folks, if the tariffs find out, and who knows, and August 1st could turn into September to October. Who the heck knows what's going on with the government and federal government and all the things. But we gotta wait and see. Fabiano, I see you. Yes, yes, yes. I have not forgotten about you at all. I actually was on the horn. I was researching an agent up in the area that you're looking in, and wasn't super happy with. I haven't been happy with what the agents that I've come up with. So you know what? It's probably my biggest fault in why maybe I take a little longer to connect folks sometimes, with an agent in my referral partners is because I'm picky. You know what? I'm picky. If I'm going to connect you with somebody, I'm putting my name to them. I'm not going to do it to just anybody. Last thing I want is to connect with somebody who's not a 20% agent. So I appreciate your patience, Fabiano. You've been incredibly patient. I really appreciate you. Uh, so Angie's the house is fully updated and almost ready to go. So Angie, you're in California. Curious to know if any of this news is making you have second doubts, any second thoughts. Are you going to continue on with the on with your you know on with the your plans, on with the plans. Um, oh hey now, Bleed Green with the super chat. Oh man, thank you so much.
Super chat.
Appreciate you tremendously. Bleed Green says, outside of Philly suburbs, they just offer 3% realtor fee. That's it on the new build market. Still crazy here. I check online for a review on Builder Mix Reviews. Yes, yes, and yes. So interesting. Here's the thing that bothers me on that, though. What bothers me is that is going to attract the wrong kind of agents. The agents that are the money agents, the agents I talk about all the time on this channel, the 80% versus the 20% agent, where in my opinion, I got 30 years in this business. I have a strong opinion on this, that, approximately 80% of the agents in the real estate industry are not worth what they're getting paid, half what they're getting paid, because they're not skilled and they're motivated by money. A lot of them, not all of them. Not all of them. A lot of them are good people. They're just they're not trained well. They're not skilled, and they need to go back to the classroom. But a lot of them don't have their client's best interest at heart because they're motivated by money. Something when you have increased realtor fees, that is the kind of agent that it attracts. The 20% agent doesn't matter. And I'm telling you, as true as I'm sitting here now on my uncle that just passed away at Easter. God rest his soul. Uh, it wouldn't matter to me. I'll take less money if it meant getting my client into a home with a better builder. I could care less that they're paying 3% versus 2%. So that is the thing that is, I mean, it's great that they're paying it, a buyer agent fee, but I'm afraid it's attracting the wrong type of people. But good for you for checking the reviews. And I think that's why, when you're looking at builder reviews, you've got to not necessarily rely on, even though it's super easy to sit down with your laptop on the sofa at night and just scroll through Reddit and you go through the Google reviews and all the things, you've got to hit the pavement. Because the fact of the matter is, the negative reviews always get written before the positive reviews. Always. It's just the way it is. It's the society we live in. People, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, probably more. Someone will complain about someone versus, say that, talk about all the great things they did or how great the house was. But all the bad reviews might mean that it is a bad builder. How do you know? You gotta pound the pavement. You gotta get out there. You gotta talk to actual people that have lived in that house. You can ask the builder for references. You could do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But just keep in mind that builder likely cherry picked those people. Just so it is. Why wouldn't they? Right? Um, so I hope that helps. But thank you so much for the super chat. I so appreciate you, and thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. You guys are so great. This chat is hopping today. Uh, you know what? I do appreciate every single one of you, and I love this conversation, um, and all the things. Nicole, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, it's been a while. Welcome, welcome. This is like an episode from Cheers. Everybody knows your name. I was, hey, Norm. MHOA, what's up? Oh, it's had the big bread. You always go to the store. He said, Tuesday night, man, you gotta do your shopping trip on a different night. Always going to the store. I got some conversation. Do I know some really good agents in Rhode Island? I do have referral partners in Rhode Island. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Just depends. I don't like to refer. Sometimes it's hard, but I try not to refer an agent that covers too big of an area, because you can't be an expert in a huge area necessarily. And I try to avoid it. Sometimes it's unavoidable. Um, but I'd rather you work with an agent that is a 20% agent, has your best interest at heart, that is willing to do the work, that's willing to do the research, and maybe is outside of the area, rather than get somebody who's local, who doesn't know what the heck they're doing, who's an 80% agent. I go with the agent that's a little further out over that. Um, for sure. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Carpe Diem says those houses look like you could punch a hole through the walls. Some of them you could. I don't know. My house is 50 years old, and they don't make them like they used to. 100%. Let's see here. Croy West, hey, haven't seen you in a while. This is like it's like a Cheers episode. I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome. Clark. He's commenting in Metro Atlanta area has gotten crazy, especially with the prices down here. Yeah, because your prices have been dropping down in Atlanta because of the high demand, a lot of new construction. Cobb County, and the prices have skyrocketed. Wowza. Um, yeah, Wendy's World, lots of price drops in Vegas. And this is, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. Double-edged sword. Um, all right, I'm just checking to see if there's any questions. Yeah, I don't want you guys to be ignored. Debbie says, seems like the market's stable in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we want to sell and move to Columbus, but not sure how to make it work. You know what? The key to collecting information on doing something like that, and I have actually quite a few of you have reached out to me on advice on that. Truly, and I'm not trying to sidestep here. You got to talk to a local agent that can actually sit down with you and go over all your options, because there's a lot of options. You could do bridge loan, you could do sell first, you could do buy first. I mean, it really depends on what your goals are. What are you trying to accomplish? And what your financial situation is, what your reason for moving is, what your stress impact is, what your stress level tolerance is. I've had some folks that say, you know what, having to sell and not know where I'm going, super stressful. I can afford it, but there's no way. Completely no. Um, and I've had people say the exact opposite. I'm not going to buy before I sell my house because I'm super worried that I'm not going to be able to sell my house or whatever. There's a certain level of risk when you're doing any of that. It's just a matter of calculating where it's least stressful to you and what is most important. And that's why sitting down with somebody face to face, a listing agent, and then a buying agent, and collecting your information to find out what your personal options are, that's what needs to happen. Because it does happen, and it doesn't have to be a total nightmare. You got to figure out what's right for you. Um, let's see. Tracy says, new home quality has gone in the dumpster. I know it is, makes me very sad. A pre-owned home is the way to go. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's see. Tori says, I'm in New York, Nassau County. I'm looking to sell and relocate to Charlotte. And man, the prices there insane. Overpriced by over 100 grand. Ridiculous. Well, overpriced from the perspective of where you're coming from, and values from when you're looking state to state, it can be tough. But the fact is that if there's one seller in one particular property that's overpriced, that's one thing. But if you have an entire area where all the prices are have increased value, well, the only answer to that is if the market softens and everyone stops buying. If no one stops buying in the Charlotte area, the demand if the demand doesn't decrease, the prices aren't going to decrease either. It is. Um, MHOA, and name that too as the theme to Tom and Jerry. I have no idea what I don't know. I'm always humming and all the things. I have a very musical household. My kids, holy cow, everybody's got subscriptions to Spotify and all the things. There's always music going, and I that is if that's what I'm humming, that is not intentional. Although I did grow up on Tom and Jerry. That is a fact. Cindy says Zillow says we should expect an increase of 1% in prices, Eastern Oregon, but I am seeing price decrease. Yeah, you know what they're talking about, and actually, you know what I had some data, data. See if I can pull it up here. I have prices on that. I have mortgage. Oh, I want to get into the mortgage data. So hold on one second here, guys. Let me cue this up. I thought I had some articles last week, and they were saying very general. The thing is about Zillow is, yes, they have their economists on staff, and they look at the given market data. But man, the market is fluctuating on a daily basis, and I think I would. Here's the thing. My advice to everyone: be super careful, super cautious if you're planning your move in the next 12 months based on the data from these economists. That's all I'm going to say. Because the fact of the matter is they're just guessing. They're making educated guesses, but they're still guesses. They're not predicting, and there's no prediction. There's no crystal ball. There's no way for them to know. And if those prices don't decrease or increase, and that sets your plan sideways, don't you know what? You got to plan for today. And if today means I'm not in a position to move, then you don't move. And then you watch it, whether it be 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever makes sense to you. And then revisit, is now a good time financially, emotionally, mental health wise, family wise, all the things, health wise. Then you can put the things in motion. Then you say, okay, how much can I spend on a house? How much is my house worth? So on and so forth. But don't put too much stock in those predictions, because I can tell you, beginning of this year, they were saying 4% appreciation. And that's not happening. I don't see that happening. This is Realtor.com came out with this morning. This is 10 of the slowest markets in the U.S. Just as I mean, this is not super surprising. But what I liked, the reason I wanted to bring this up to you guys is uh, this information. The median days on the market. If you are in any of these areas, this is the kind of stuff I talk about all the time. You got to know the median, not average, median. Median is calculated different than average. Average would be if you have 10 properties and you've got the normal price is 400,000 and you've got one outlier that was a $2 million house, that skews all the other 9 properties. It's not a true it's not a true representation of what those 10 properties are. But if you have a median, the way the median is calculated is it puts more weight on how many properties. You have 4, 5, 6 properties, 9 properties in the 4 to 500 range, then they're going to put more weight on those versus the one $2 million property. And it's a more accurate number. So median is the way to go when you're asking your agent, what's not the average, what's the median days to offer? So the median days on the market, whether you're buying or selling, so you know what's happening in any given market. But Nashville, Tennessee, I've actually had quite a few referral requests, in and around Nashville on both sides, buying and selling. Right now, they're, at 52, number one slowest market, 52 days on the market. Miami, 83 days on the market. I haven't seen some of these numbers in a long time. Orlando, 2 months days on the market. So if you put your house on the market again and you're not getting offers 2 weeks, 3 weeks in, don't fret. Stay the course. Watch the market, watch the comps constantly. Your agent should be watching the comps constantly, because if all of a sudden things starts to shift, you don't want to be left behind and now you're the white elephant that is overpriced, because it wasn't overpriced when you put it on the market, but then the market shift while it was on the market. And you've got to know what the market's doing so you can work, so that you can move with it. Tucson, Arizona, 57 days. Jacksonville, 67. Columbus, Ohio, coming in at number 6 at 68 days. Las Vegas, somebody called it. Las Vegas, 58 days, almost 2 months on the market. Riverside, California, 636. Tampa, Florida, 50. Raleigh, North Carolina, 50 days, 50 days on the market. So the only thing that I don't see here, and they don't, the one, and this is, I question everything. It's a drive my parents crazy. Why? You got to ask why. And you got to ask, like, okay, so this is 52 days. This is the only information I don't have for you. That's 52 days, median days. Okay, so that's that 52 days from the time it was listed to the time it was sold. Does that include, what does that include? Does that 52 days an offer time frame? Is that, certain states, there's a longer escrow period because New York is crazy, crazy long, in terms of their process of selling a house. And it just from my, not that I've sold, or have any dealings with it, just, with my referral partners there, and communications with them, processes. It takes a lot longer than it does in Massachusetts anyways. But I'd like to know where, what the actual days on the market, what is that actually representing? If the house went on the market, came off the market for a week and then went back on, was it reset to 0? Inquiring minds want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Sorry. Somebody must be talking about me. I got an itchy nose. You guys remember that saying? My mother used to say that. Skate 76. Is Zillow becoming the new MLS? Whatever happened to the NNEREN website? I'm not sure what NNEREN is. I'd have to research that. But in terms of your question about Zillow, so Zillow is a brokerage. Zillow is not, a standalone, a homes.com or realtor.com or whatnot. They are a for-profit company. MLSs are not, for profit. They're businesses, but they're not. MLS in itself is not a brokerage. Zillow is. So is Zillow going to be the new MLS? No, no. Do they have and are they providing a lot of information? Yes. Are they flexing with all this ridiculous infighting with agents and what people can do and advertising and all? Yes, that's what they're trying to do. But keep in mind, because they are a broker, because they are um, participating in that, and bringing in paying agents. By the way, if you see an agent that is a preferred Zillow agent, all that means is that that agent paid money to Zillow to have their name recommended by Zillow. That's all it means. They don't have to do, there's no vetting. There's no interview. There's no, requirement. The only requirement is they got money in their account so that when the bill is paid every month, it actually is paid to Zillow. That's it. And the fees, those they finally gave up on me, but man, they would not leave me alone. And depending on the zip code, because that's what you do, you buy zip codes. It could be $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month. Agents will pay to get Zillow leads. It's gross. I've never done it. I've never done it. I've never paid for leads, period. I think it's just the whole thing is gross. But I mean, whatever. Everybody's got to find their avenue, but it's not going to be the new MLS. That being said, I am in favor of a national MLS because I think that would benefit the consumer. I think that a national MLS system where everyone has access to data, consumers have access to data. Agents are no longer the gatekeepers. And you know what? That's not where we bring our value. That's not where we bring our value. Agents bring their value as their experiential knowledge. It's, helping you navigate that data. The data itself is not the value proposition. So just give it to you because you're going to find out about it. Like, why is it being withheld? That's old school stuff. And it's just, things got to change. Things got to change. Um, Let's see. What about the markets that are in a commutable distance to NYC? I'm in the Hudson River Valley. We're seeing some softening. I can't comment on that specifically. I don't know. I don't know specific markets, and even then, unless you're in my immediate area, I am not an expert in to be able to give you good information on specific markets. Um, let's see. Let's see. TM says so rates are relatively high and prices are dropping. So they're doing exactly as they're supposed to. We should be celebrating. Well, I suppose if you're potentially a home buyer, maybe. I guess the thing is it is. I hear what you're saying. Um, it's not this housing market is a very complicated web because it's not just inventory, it's not just housing, it's not just prices, it's not just interest rates. It's a combination of all of the things. So a home buyer that needs to buy but can't afford to make the payment, which means they can't afford to buy. Maybe they're living in their parents' basement and they can't afford to buy a house. They're not celebrating. Someone who has a low interest rate on a home, they refinanced into it, they desperately need to sell their house. But in order to sell and buy, that means going into a higher interest rate, which means a potentially, if they're relocating because of business, relocating because of family, maybe they have a sick relative, maybe they're sick, they have to sell. They're not celebrating. It depends on the situation. Dropping prices is a good thing, 100%. But at the end of the day, if the prices drop and there's nobody there to buy it, there's no celebration by anybody, right? So it's a tough thing. The thing that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about is, we very much are in, that mindset of the buyer and the seller, the buyer and the seller. It's hard for the buyer, it's hard for the seller, yada yada yada. And the housing market is encompassing, yes, that's the core of the housing market and who's being impacted. However, this housing market slowdown, I have seen so many mom and pop shops that have closed, home repair companies, home inspection companies, um, you name it. These, businesses across the country are suffering because their business, when people are not buying homes, they're not hiring these people. And those people have mortgages to pay too. When you have the housing market is the largest gross domestic product of this country. Say it again. Housing market is the largest GDP, and it brings the most amount of money into our economy. If we have a dip, if we have a slowing in the economy, a slowing in the housing market, typically it is not the reason it's not a reason to celebrate is because that's going to have negative influences and impact on a whole slew of a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses. It's if those businesses, those offshoot businesses that get that extra business from home selling, if they aren't making the revenue that they can't make their mortgage payment. They can't put food on the table. That's it's a economic. Hence the reason why that this live stream was around not just the housing market, but the impact on the economic, the economy as a whole, because it does impact the economy as a whole. Now, I'm not an economist to get into all the nooks and crannies and all the things, but I have a mortgage and I buy groceries and have car insurance and pay taxes and I like everybody else. And, when I go and get my groceries and I see the costs going up and up and up, and I've got one kid that has graduated college. I got another kid going off to college in the fall. And she's going to a state school, so it's less expensive, saving some money there, but still costing some money, and books are crazy and all these different things. Um, you know what? Everybody's affected. Everybody. So it's a very complicated situation. Let's see here. Let's see here. Hello, Miss H. I see you. I see you. Thanks for being here. Let's see. Tori says, when I say overpriced, I mean total dumps for 500,000. I know it's just crazy. I mean, keep in mind, Tori, the average home price in this country is like 460,000, which is crazy. Just for an average home. Bonkers. 500,000, especially if you have an area that is high demand, 500,000 is not crazy. It's just, I mean, it's just the state of affairs. I wanted to, since we were talking actually about interest rates 2 seconds ago, I wanted to get into, to be mindful of the time. Guys, don't forget the chat. In the chat, they got the poll. We got quite a few people that have voted so far. 255 votes. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. I love it. Love it. I'm going to get that poll results in just a couple minutes. But I wanted to just touch on this article. Now, this is, and he's an economist, this is Norada Real Estate Investments, and then they put some good commentary. I thought when I was reading through this, I said, you know what, this is a good overall assessment of what's happening with interest rates over, because I've had a couple of you reached out to me, posted on last week's live stream, what about interest rates? And I haven't really talked too much about that. We talked about how they have not moving, but what is the prediction? Going, for the immediate future, for the rest of 2025 anyways. So he says, the overall consensus seems to be that the mortgage rates will likely remain relatively stable. While the recent dip is encouraging, because rates did shimmy down just a tad the last couple weeks, it says, I don't expect a dramatic drop the next 30 days. Here's what experts are predicting. Moderation and stability. Mortgage rates are expected to remain relatively stable, moderate throughout July. Higher for longer environment. Expect mortgage rates to stay above 6.5% for the rest of 2025. I don't think we're going to be seeing that 5% anytime soon. A wait and see approach. The Fed will likely monitor the economic data before making any decisions on rate cuts at its July meeting. And I think, I mean, when you look at economic data, you're looking at consumer confidence, you're looking at the jobs report. Investors react to how confident they are, how if they see growth, if they see stagnation, and so on. Um, and the thing to watch is, I mean, you can't ignore tariffs and the impact of tariffs on the economy as a whole. And if that deadline of August 1st, depending on the outcome of that, could impact what investors do after the fact. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Um, and then inflation. The inflation concerns are legitimate. Again, it's a lot of it is going to be hinging on what happens with tariffs, and whether that August 1st deadline is a legitimate deadline or not. But there are legitimate inflation concerns, because if that deadline, we reach that deadline, and agreements have not been made across the board in regards to these tariffs, we are potentially going to see significant increases. We're already seeing increases in prices for our groceries and such. That is going to escalate, which will it will absolutely push up inflation. This is considering the Fed's cautious stance and the potential for inflation to remain sticky. It's more likely that rates will stay within the 6.5% to 7% range for the next month. Here are the average predictions for 30-year fixed mortgage in Q3 2025. I wanted to just make a real quick comment. This is just my commentary. I think as a consumer, and I'm with you guys. I am absolutely with you guys, sitting on the couch, yelling at the TV, armchair quarterbacking our economy, pigeonholing one person, two people. Why can't you do this? Why can't you? The Fed needs to lower the rate. What's the big deal? Blah, 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 blah. We have to recognize the fact that everything has consequences. And it's not just as easy to say, do this and that will happen. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. And even if, and the other piece of the thing that I really want you guys to remember too is, just because the Fed lowers the rate, we talk about the Fed because it does influence the T-bill, which more influences the mortgage rate. And typically the mortgage rates run in parallel historically with the Fed rate. Okay, there is a history there, but there is no direct correlation. The Fed could lower the rate and have zero impact. We saw that last year. Zero impact on the mortgage rate. So we need to remember that. Is, getting mad at Powell for not reducing, and I'm not defending the guy. I'm not a fan of any politician. I'll be honest. I'm just not, because I don't think any of them give a straight story. None of them give us straight stories on anything. But just because he won't, it doesn't mean it would fix the deal anyways. Doesn't mean we would have lower interest rates and lower mortgage rates anyways, even if the Fed does lower the rate. So just keep that in mind. I want you guys, we all want to be educated consumers here, right? And that's the thing that I want you to remember. So the predictions, here are the predictions. So Fannie Mae is predicting for Q3. Okay, so that's, July, September, October. 6.6, the National Association of Home Builders 6.7, Mortgage Bankers Association 6.8, Wells Fargo 6.65, the National Association of Realtors 6.4, and so that gives us an average prediction of 6.64%. The National Association of Realtors, they do have a very well stacked group of economists that that analyze the data. And their data, Lawrence Yun over there at NAR does a very good job with rehashing the data. I think that's too low. I don't think it's going to be down that low. So, food for thought. If you're waiting for those rates to drop, you got to look at what is your situation, and what if they don't. And that would be the thing that I would tell a buyer right now is you got to make the decision on whether to buy. And if you can't afford to buy right now, um, I think the average right now is about 6.75, about 6.75 thereabouts. But if you can't afford to buy right now, number one, how much is a quarter point, half percent point going to make if you can't afford it now? Then you're probably going to be too tight to buy anyways. But the flip side is if you can afford it now, but a half a percent would make things a little easier. But if it doesn't, that's okay too. Then why are you going to wait? If there's a legitimate reason for you to buy and the right house at the right price comes along, there's no reason to improve the quality of your life. Improve the quality of your life. Do the thing. Chase after your dream. Um, dun, 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 dun. All right, I'm just checking the chat here, and then I'm gonna hop over to the poll, and if you guys have questions, uh, duh, 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 duh. So it says, do you remember when the market had interest rates as high as 12 to 14%? Someone mentioned that recently. I do know a coworker said that they had a 12% in the 90s. That was news to me. Yeah, so it was, I mean, as the late 80s, it was in upwards towards 18%. Yeah, so I got my real estate license in 96, and it was 10, 11% at that point. People were still buying. Of course, the relationship between the interest rate and the values and the income was totally different, for sure. But it's been a while. It hasn't been that in that 12% of a long, long time. Long, long time. TM says my boober dad bought his house with 18%. Yep. I think my parents were in the same group when we moved here in mid 80s. Moved to Plymouth in mid 80s. And it was right around that time. My dad got, job relocation, and they moved here, 4 kids in tow in December. Bought a house. And that's why the housing market is never going to stop. It's never going to stall. Never. There'll always be a need. It just ebbs and flows. Ebb and flow, ebb and flow. For sure, for sure. Here we go. Many moons ago, NNERN, the Northern New England Real Estate Network, was the online MLS hub for New Hampshire and Vermont. Interesting. Well, I'm down in Massachusetts, and so we were never remember that. So interesting. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm having a tough time with this chat. So if I'm skipping over your comment, please, don't take it personally. I just want to make sure I get to questions. Make sure you put QQQ in front of your question. Oh, da, 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 da. Let's see. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right. Awesome. You guys are so great. I'm gonna get into, holy cow. Mitzi Lucas. New homes to be built just south of Kansas City. Kansas currently being sold for 600 to 1.4 million. And they're built so fast it is scary. Yeah. Can you imagine spending $1.4 million on a home that is garbage? Nope. Yeah, it's a little scary out there. Okay, poll. If mortgage rates drop to 5%, do you think the housing market would improve? So no opinion, 7%. No, 16%. Possibly 26%, and a whopping yes, 51%. So you guys have spoken. You guys have spoken that you believe that the interest rates could spur the housing market. It's a double-edged sword with the interest rates. And what I mean by that is if the interest rates go down to 5%, that's terrific. That's, as a buyer, that's That's wonderful. As a seller, it's a lot, takes the sting out of leaving that 3% mortgage when you're only jumping at 5% mortgage. However, there is a big potential, okay? Huge. As much as we think, oh gosh, it will motivate me to do something. It'll motivate me, it'll give me the peace of mind, to give me the financial support, put me in a financial position to be able to do something like that. Well, if you have people like you and a lot of others that do the same thing, now you have more buyers competing for the same inventory. And even if you have a lot of inventory, good amount of inventory, what happened during COVID? From what happened during COVID. This is why I'm not necessarily rooting for low interest rates. I don't love having the interest rates where they're at now. But I don't think, yes, it will get the housing market going, but is that a good thing? Because it's not apples to apples. If you have your high interest rates go down, guess what's going to happen? Housing prices are going to go up. And that's why it's not easy. It's not an easy answer to say this is what needs to happen to make everything better. I don't know how that is navigated. There is no simple answer to that at this moment in time. I think it will help a lot of people, but the fact of the matter is, until we get an influx of inventory, an abundance of inventory across the board to satisfy the number of people that want to buy, only then will we not see the low interest rates jack up the price, because then we'll have enough houses for people to move into. How does that happen? I think that, the president and, made some promises about, helping the National Association of Builders, and they were happy about it when he was elected, giving them the opportunity to build more with less restrictions. That hasn't happened. Hasn't happened yet. Could that potentially help? Yes, but question mark, because of all the conversation that we had today about home builders. This is like one of those puzzles. I don't know if it's a labyrinth. I don't know what puzzle I'm thinking about. There's no easy answer to this. But that being said, we're all in it together. Everybody. So what can you do? And this is, what I say this every week. You got to be, seek to understand before you judge. What does that mean? That means, you know what? You got to be patient with the seller if you're a buyer. You got to be patient with the buyers if you're a seller. Everybody's facing a challenge. Everybody. We all bleed red. Unless you're an alien. And I don't think they're buying houses. Maybe they are. I don't know. But irrelevant. The fact of the matter is everybody's got some kind of burden to bear, and we need to be a little bit more empathetic of that, because that's the only thing we have control over. Because this is a tough situation to be in, but you can navigate it, not without pain, but it can be done. Patience, persistence. Make sure you advocate for yourself. Make sure you find professionals that have track records and all the things before you can rely on them to help assist you with coming up with, solutions and help putting game plans together. But patience is key. So that's what I got for you this week. I appreciate you guys all being here. I really do. I appreciate the very active chat that we had tonight. I love it when you guys, air all your comments and share your situations and all the things, because you know what? That is the name of the game on this show. Is I want you guys to be involved. This is an interactive situation. It's an interactive show, and I want your voices to be heard, because the fact is, you can watch all these videos and just watch somebody on a screen tout stats and data and all the things. But you know what? You guys, you should have a voice and be heard and share your struggles and all the things. And I love it when you do that and share your wins, because you know what? You put good out and it does amazing things. Send some good out and karma exists and you get good back. I'm a believer in that. So be good. Take care of each other. Be nice. Look out for your neighbor. I'll see you guys next week, next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Same bat time, same bat channel. Before you judge, seek to understand. You might find out that you might be closer in your ideals than you realized. Have a great week, everybody. Be good, be safe. See you next Tuesday. Ciao.